Hey everyone, I realize there's like a funky glare on this TV behind me. So I'm at a high school right now, about to teach class here. Thought I'd make a video real quick to explain everything that's going on in week 12. So once again, as always, make sure you're paying attention to the dates that are on your Canvas page and not necessarily the ones that you're seeing on mine. So this week you're going to be reading a very famous text by Martin Luther King Jr. It's called Letter from a Birmingham Jail. Perhaps you've heard of it. Now, as you're reading the letter, I want you to think about a couple of things. Think about how you have been taught about Martin Luther King Jr. in the entirety of your education. And then think about this writing. How does this writing compare to the perception of what you've gotten about Dr. King? Does it align or does it skew? And then why? I think it's also important to understand that Dr. King was not a universally loved figure at the time of his prominence. In fact, a majority of Americans did not like Martin Luther King Jr. at all. He had a very, very high disapproval rating. And then, as you're reading this text, think about why that might be. And then think, is his message still relevant today, especially considering all the turmoil that we have regarding race today? Does this message still apply? Is there anything different? Think about all of these things in light of how our culture often just views Martin Luther King Jr. as the guy who had a dream where children of different races could play together, right? That's kind of how he's characterized now. All right, so that's what's going on. You're also going to read a very brief composition from Sherman Alexie, who's a Native American author, called How to Write the Great American Novel. It's a poem. I want to give a little more context in terms of our discussions on race. So let's look at your texts. There they are. I also want you to watch this interview. So this is an interview with Martin Luther King Jr. This was actually taken very, very soon, or I guess, how would I say that? Soon after he was assassinated after this interview. And I want you to think about it, because I think lots of times when we see Martin Luther King Jr., we think of his ideas as being something that everyone can get behind. Let's be peaceful and love each other. But often he's been, in a sense, kind of like nerfed, right? There's a lot of ideas that might seem surprising and shocking to a lot of people today. So think about that as you're watching the interview, as you're reading a letter from a Birmingham jail, all those things together. And then lastly, for your discussion board posts, in Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail, he argues that race in America is what? So how would you characterize the overall view of race in America by Martin Luther King Jr., and why would he think that way? He forms the basis of his point through blank. How's he making his point? Give me a direct quote from the text. Make sure you're doing that. And give me another direct quote here. In sum, these lines from King articulate his powerful conviction that what? What's his conviction, and how is it making that argument? In my own opinion of his argument, I acknowledge that King's experience of blank, and be more specific here than like race and racism, right? You might have to do some research here. Give me some actual stories. What is it that's undergirding his understanding of race in America? I think our sense of race in America is shaped by what? And the classic thing to put here by students in the past is just to say, the media. Great. Can you be more specific than the media? What about the media? What are you talking about? That's a very, very broad thing that you're saying there. So if you do say the media, please be more specific. Tell me what you mean. Unpack that a little bit. Give me more than just one word there. Give me a phrase. Give me a sentence. Give me sentences. I can primarily see this in my experiences through watching TV. No, don't do that. You have personal experiences. Can you don't have to give me like a psychological session here, but can you be a little specific? This helps me to understand that race and racism as it functions in America is what? How would you characterize race and racism in America? Because blank. Okay? So that's everything that's going on this week. Keep working hard. Chime in if you need any assistance. Keep working on flexing those writing muscles with these templates. I know it feels weird with the templates sometimes, but y'all, your writing is markedly improving, because it's like working out when you write. I know we write every week, but it's just like anything else. Soccer, basketball, playing the flute. If you are doing it every day, every week, you're going to improve. All right, y'all have a good one.